DMs, we can do a lot of stuff, but if you get one or a couple of players who are trying to make everybody have more fun, trying to do things that are going to make it a better table to be at, that's hard to beat. Austin, one goal is to never say no to your players. That's an interesting one. I have to think about that. I have to think about whether I agree with that. I agree with the sentiment. I agree with the spirit. And I think I generally would agree with you, but I've also seen, let's not call them bad players. I've seen opportunistic players at tables before, whether it's a table I'm running or a table that I'm just participating in. And sometimes these are players that need to be told no. Sometimes I think there are players who, light trolling is going on, and it's like, okay, these folks need to be told no. What I would you hate training players to cooperate. Well, so the tricky thing about players that are sort of pushing buttons, and what I mean by this is, players that will see that here's the map, here's the playable area that you as a DM have put together and put on the table for everybody to have fun with, and they want to go north, 300 feet off the map, or I would also bucket in players who are kind of deliberately the only ones walking away from the party all the time, so you're having to maintain sort of split things. They're sort of making themselves the main character. I would actually recommend in those situations that I think that's an above table problem. And I think it's really good advice to try to keep the problem solving to the level that it exists at. So if there's a game problem, if there's a character issue, keep that in the game. You don't want to walk away from the table and be mad at a player for how they played, right? And the exact opposite, if a player is kind of being unruly and making it difficult for everybody to have fun, that's probably an above table situation. I don't like to inflict things in the game world when really it's an above table conversation. I'm like, hey, we're trying to have fun here. Are you also trying to have fun? Or are you trying to, do you have a different kind of idea of what this fun is? And if so, like, how do we balance those two things, So yeah, it's really tricky to give too much guidance on that kind of stuff, because so much of it is it's a social game, right? And there are rules, but the rules are more malleable than most things, and everybody's got to kind of figure out their own way of handling it, I think. Hopefully it's not something the DMs have to face that often. Life's too short to and it's a good reminder, I think, for people who are largely players at the table, just spend some percentage of your time at the table thinking about how everybody else is having fun. I think players can have a bigger impact sometimes on fun than even DMs can at the end of the day. DMs, we can do a lot of stuff, but if you get one or a couple of players who are trying to make everybody have more fun, trying to do things that are going to make it a better table to be at, that's hard to beat. What's up, Ben? Yeah. So I'm working on a cottage and some creatures for a one-shot that I'm writing and releasing. And this particular creature is called a feral echo. And a feral echo is basically if you identify and capture the spirit of a wild shape from a druid, like when they drop wild shape, if you know what you're doing, you can snatch up and collect this essence, and it'll grow over time. And it's basically this kind of mist or this like fog that feral kind of energy creatures, fangs, claws, teeth are sort of swirling in it. It's almost like an aspect of like an avatar of nature or something like that. So, thus, I am my first iteration of this creature concept is to kit bash some craziness into these. I think they were water elementals originally that were 3D printed. Honestly, the really fun part about this project is that it's a one shot that I'm excited to run. I think it would actually make a great campaign starter. But I also created like I don't know to count 7 or 8 unique little creatures. So like the feral echo is a really fun one. Over here is a I've got a couple different iterations of these guys. They are called pilfers. They're like magician's assistants, and they steal from parties. They have like legendary magic resistance, and they're very fast. Very excited to get these on the table. And another one of the group that I'm very happy about is called a Moji, an Moji. And a Moji is a little creature that when it basically appears kind of like an elemental would, except it can shift the elements based on the environment, based on how chaotic things are around it. So its dormant state is a rock. If it's angered, it becomes fire. If it's sad, it becomes water. And so the fun part in this cottage scene, as the fight is going on and different things are happening, it's going to be over in the corner changing state and affecting the room as a result of that. It's like a really volatile like pet rock or something. But the fun part about all these creatures is what they imply about like the class of creature kind of behind them. So like a feral echo to me begs a bunch of interesting questions about other creatures like it. Gibson, you'd be super interested in printing a few of these. Such a great idea for a fit. Hopefully we'll get to that point. I'll be scanning and providing like the 1.0 version of these things, and then I'll either figure out how to properly model these things or get help from people that know better than me. But it's something I'd like to learn. It's something I think I could really enjoy.